I live in a small, peaceful town. I don't live in a place where you have to worry about walking alone at night. I share a one-story house with my sister, but she's hardly ever home. She has another place in Florida that she spends most of her time. There's about 100 to 200 feet between each house on my block, and then there's some woods across the street. I have a daily routine. I get home from work, make dinner, shower, relax a little, then go for a run, come back and have a light snack, then go to bed. It was a work night like any other. I was going for my nightly run, and when I came back to my house, there was a random white van parked across the street. I took notice of it because hardly ever would random cars park on any of these streets. Our little neighborhood has very little through traffic. I looked at it as I walked backwards to my front door, and I could tell there was someone sitting inside of it, though I couldn't see anything regarding what they were doing. I don't know if the glass was tinted or if it was just because it was dark out. Later that night, I was hearing some weird sounds coming from outside. It was like a screaming sound. I looked out my window, called out hello, and it stopped. I had no idea what it could be, but my first guess was the neighbor doing something in his yard. I went back to whatever I was doing, and that was the night. The following day was a Friday, the last day in my work week. After work, I did proceed with my regular schedule. I went on my nightly run a little earlier tonight since it was Friday and I had plans with some friends. I got back from my run, imagining the van to be there again, but it wasn't this time. I went out with my friends to a comedy club, and I didn't get back until late. I let myself into the house and locked the door. It was a long night and I was feeling tired, so I hurried up with the getting ready for bed process. After turning off the bedside light in my room and laying down, that's when things were finally silent enough for me to pick up on some weird thumping and rustling sounds. I felt like they were coming from inside of the walls. It's only a two-bedroom house, it's not big. I put my ear up to one of the walls, and indeed heard something going on in there. I knocked on the wall and the noises stopped. This was a cause for concern, as I assumed it was a rodent or a wild raccoon. I went out to the living room, and passing by the windows, I looked outside and saw that white van parked outside again. I opened my front door and stepped out to the front stoop to look at the van. I didn't see anyone sitting in it this time. 2 nights in a row of this now, something was going on. I walked barefoot to the side of my house to look for possible holes in the walls for animals to crawl through. Then I came to the outside crawl space door. It was cracked open, and the lock was snapped off. I hadn't paid attention to this door in weeks. I pulled it open a little more, and without a phone or flashlight in my hands, all I could do was lean inside and squint my eyes in the pitch blackness of the crawl space. I heard the faintest little sounds of pebbles scraping against the concrete floor. At first, my naive mind was thinking it was an animal, until the sounds turned more aggressive and more closely resembled human footsteps marching to the crawl space door. And then, just barely, I could see a person crouch walking towards me. I slammed the door and twisted the knob, but without a lock, it wouldn't do anything. I ran back inside my house and called the police. While on the phone, I instantly attributed the crawl space door to the scraping sounds I heard the night before. The next time I went to the window wall on the phone, the van in the street was gone. Police came and I showed them the crawl space. We had to use flashlights as the crawl space doesn't have any lights installed. We found something disturbing. In the left corner, there were cut marks in the roof of the crawl space, as if the intruder was trying to saw his way into the house. The only info I could give them was the white van parked in front of the house. We don't have cameras, nor did I see what he or she even looked like. They never came back, though. I'd imagine because I caught on to what was probably supposed to be a silent operation. My family has a summer home in Arapahoe National Forest of Colorado. It's a 7-hour drive from my home. I don't often go with my parents or siblings, if ever. I go alone for the purpose of hunting and detoxing. I've probably been up there a total of 40 times in my life. The last time I went was a few months ago, but I don't really like going alone anymore. Here's why. It was 2017. I just pulled my truck up the old dirt road onto the grass of the property. There's no real driveway, we just park wherever on the grass, really. The house isn't huge, it's modest but nice for a vacation home. I parked up next to the front deck. This was in the dead of summer, but the breeze there was still nice and cool. I let myself into the house using the keypad lock. We don't use physical keys in fear of losing or forgetting them. I was the first one there in quite some time, so I had to turn on the electricity and water heater. In the meantime, I unpacked and ate the lunch I brought with me. I also threw away any mouse and bug traps that were left out that caught mice and bugs. It's actually quite a problem in the house. After all this was done, I started setting up my hunting gear, which my dad and I leave in a big back closet. By this point, the sun was on its way down. It was around 6 o'clock. The laughter from outside caught my attention. I marched from the kitchen to the living room to look out the big window that looked into the woods. I looked into the woods and I didn't see anyone, so I cranked the heavy window open and listened. The laughter belonged to multiple children, like a small group. This was our property, though. That meant these kids were trespassing, probably up to no good. I went outside through the back door to the woods, trying to follow the laughter. I kept going deeper into the woods, and the laughter stayed the same distance away from me, though. Eventually I gave up, because it seemed like the kids were running away anyway. The next day, while posted up in the tower that my dad built for deer hunting in the woods, I heard the sound of those kids laughing again. Knowing that meant they were once again on our property, I decided to call my dad and ask what to do. He told me to chase them off the property if I saw them, so I shot around into the air. I forfeited any gain for the sole purpose of chasing the kids away, but it worked, of course. The sound of the laughing stopped right away. I knew now it would be pointless staying posted up in the tower, so I called it for the day and went back to the house. I wasn't feeling too well anyway. That night I slept with all the windows open to get some air circulating, maybe help me with my headache. Then it came back, the sounds of the children. At this crazy hour, it had to be past like 11 at this point. I climbed up the bed to look out the window. Of course, it was too dark out there. I had enough now, though. I grabbed my Winchester from the closet and a flashlight as well. I didn't have intentions of shooting kids, just scaring them off with a round or two. I went out the back door towards the woods again, where the laughter was coming from. The laughter was louder than any other time before now. It seemed like they were 20 meters away at most. I yelled in a strong, commanding voice to get off my land. I scanned the woods with my flashlight. It wasn't a very powerful one, though. Then every muscle in my body basically went limp, and the volume of the laughter went from 30 to 100 in a matter of half a second. Then something landed on the ground next to me. It was an old-looking speaker. The sounds of kids laughing was blasting through it. I picked it up and threw it back in the woods, then aimed the light back in the woods. At one point, I'm still not sure of it though, but I thought I saw a person standing at the edge of my light. I aimed my Winchester into the air and fired, then yelled a threat, like come any closer, the next round goes through your skull. I then ran back inside the back door and locked it. I closed every curtain. I considered calling the sheriff's department, but all the way up here, any police call would take at least half an hour to an hour. I was better off fleeing altogether. As I packed my bag, I heard a smudge on the living room window. I waited a few minutes in an idle position before slightly moving the curtains, revealing something written in blood on the glass. I didn't take the time to read it. I finished packing my bag, took my gun, took a deep breath, and went outside. I locked the door with the code as quickly as possible, then ran for the car as if my life depended on it. I turned the car on and put it in drive before it had time to finish with those startup beeps. I spoke with my dad on the way home. He told me I was right to leave. Anything in the house wasn't worth my life. I stayed at a nearby motel that night. My dad came the next day. I met him at the house. Whatever was written on that window in blood was wiped completely off. The house wasn't broken into, and we couldn't find the speaker-type thing that was thrown at me. We stayed a couple nights, then went home. I don't know who was out there or why they were targeting me. I really hope that blood was animal blood, though.
Man.
I was home alone one weekend, house to myself. I had a couple friends over the first night, and I stayed up pretty late both nights. I was 14 at the time, just started high school, and my parents had just started trusting me enough to leave the house to myself. This was on a Saturday night. I was out with a couple friends pretty late. When we all decided to call it a night, I walked home by myself. Halfway through my walk home, I noticed the car seemed to be following me. So I started to jog home. The car started flashing its lights. At this hour of the night, I could only assume potential danger, so I turned my jog into a full-fledged run. I ran all the way to my house and checked outside the windows. Moments later, the car from outside parked in front of the house and someone came out from the car. They started running up to my front door. I started panicking. The doorbell started to ring. They started pounding on the door aggressively. It suddenly felt like my life was being threatened. I ran to my room, which was on the lower level of the house by the backyard. I tried to get my parents on the phone, but they wouldn't answer. They were definitely asleep. For a 14-year-old boy, I was scared to death. Now the intense knocking moved to my window instead of the front door. I screamed at them to go away, and they yelled something back, but it was muffled. I left my room to hide in my parents' room and called the police. I made a phone call explaining that I was followed home and someone was trying to break into my house. The banging started at my parents' bedroom window now, as if they somehow knew which room I was going to every time. I screamed, "Go away!" The 911 dispatcher told me not to do that and to keep quiet and stay hidden. But the person banging on the glass started yelling through the closed window, and now I could hear more clearly what he was saying. He yelled there was a person in my house. Then he yelled someone followed me home and might be inside my house. Ignoring the 911 dispatcher, I went to the window and asked in a loud voice so he could hear me, "What are you talking about?" He yelled at me to call the police and stay locked inside of a room because someone followed me home and went to our backyard. I told the dispatcher exactly what the man yelled to me. She said don't trust him just yet and to stay in a locked room until the police would arrive at my front door. I didn't know whether the things the man was saying were true or not. Not until hearing footsteps outside my parents' bedroom near the living room. The footsteps clomped down the wooden floor of the bedroom hallway. I heard each door in the hall being opened until they got to my parents' bedroom door. The doorknob twisted, but since it was locked, obviously the door couldn't be pushed open. I hid in the closet as the person on the other side of the door started trying to most likely kick the door down, as all I heard were loud bangs. Eventually the bangs stopped, and I imagine they gave up. I didn't hear footsteps walking away, but probably because I was in the closet. I was still on the line with the dispatcher. She told me police were outside, to which I suggested the police try entering through the back, as that was apparently the point of entry most likely. They were able to enter through the front door though, as apparently the intruder left through the front. The back door was left ajar after the intruder smashed the glass panel on the door, allowing him to reach in and unlock it. I met the police in the living room. The man who was outside banging on the windows was also there. He told this whole story, that as I was walking home, he saw some older man crouching in bush after bush, following me in a manner that conveyed he meant harm. He followed me all the way to my house, as a matter of fact. That's why the guy in the car was following me, as well as flashing his lights. I called my mom, who picked up on the third try. I didn't want to call my dad because I was scared of how angry he'd be. I spoke with my mom on speakerphone, with the police listening and contributing reassuring words to my mom. The police dropped me off at a friend's house that night to sleep there. My parents started driving home that night and got home early the next morning. A police officer parked outside our house for a few hours before driving off. Nothing was stolen at all to our knowledge. And if the intruder didn't break in to rob us, that means he really was just after me. And he came after me in my own house. I work in a middle school as an 8th grade math teacher. Some of you may assume that means I'm like 38 or something, but I'm actually only 26. I was hired young. I'm not saying I'm immature or anything, just that if I was 10 or 20 years older, I may have handled things differently. Of course, this happened during a period that I was teaching a class. The math wing in our school is closest to the lobby. I remember it like it was yesterday, down to the equation I was writing on the board when the lockdown alarm suddenly sounded. It wasn't a drill. All faculty and students are taught which alarms mean what, and this was the alarm that meant go into lockdown for real, not a drill. I hurried to the door to lock it. Each door in the building has a big glass panel in it though, so the doors have little blinds that you can pull down to cover this. Even though we're supposed to pull down the blinds during lockdowns, we're also supposed to instruct students to hide in one corner of the room with the lights off. As I turned off the lights in the classroom, I told the students to go hide in the corner of the room where we would be least visible and audible from the door. I saw the lights in the hallways dim to just the backup lights, something I'd never seen before till that point. I was slightly worried because I knew this had to be serious. And like I said, the math room was right by the lobby. My classroom is one of the first classrooms you pass as you're going through one of the two hallways that view from the lobby. I was curious, so using the classroom phone, I called the front office. They didn't pick up after 4 rings, so I hung up. I wasn't endangering anyone to my knowledge, because the front office is behind 2 doors and the phone wouldn't be heard from the lobby. But still, them not picking up was concerning. There was suddenly a knocking on the door, a frantic, panic knocking, accompanied with someone on the other side of the door begging to be let in. It wasn't a student, the voice was way too deep. It sounded to me like a guy in his early 20s, if I had to guess. I went to the door quietly, saw the person's shadow on the other side of the blind. He started saying he could see me through the blind and knew I could hear him. He kept saying let me in a scared-sounding kind of whimpery voice. I looked at my students. Some of them had scared, confused looks on their faces. I signaled for them to keep quiet. Then I asked through the door, who's there? What's your name? He said his name was Cody and that he was a student and needed to get into the classroom because he felt unsafe in the halls. When he told me this, I noticed he seemed to be trying to talk at a slightly higher pitch. I wasn't falling for it. There was no way that voice belonged to a middle schooler. I ignored him and went back to the corner by the students. The guy on the other side of the door started knocking harder, fiddling with the doorknob and then kind of thrashing at the door, all while still saying, "Help, let me in." I did my best to keep my students from screaming or freaking out. The guy eventually gave up and the noises stopped. We stayed in lockdown for half an hour before an announcement was made that police had searched the building and it was safe. So later on, faculty was giving more details, and apparently some 20-something-year-old guy with long hair down to his shoulders was walking around the school with a small handgun. Whether it was a real gun or not remains unknown, but the guy was caught on camera leaving the building through a back exit, and he was found by police 2 hours later, not holding a gun. I think I could have handled the situation a little better. For example, not even answering the guy when he was at the door, but I was so nervous that I really wasn't thinking logically. It's scary to think about what might have transpired if I opened the door for him. This was back in my university days, not too long ago. I was in between classes with an hour-long gap. I had to go to the bathroom, but I didn't like using the bathrooms that most other people use. There were a couple restrooms on campus that were never really used. For example, the Activity Center building's bathroom. Our school's Activity Center was usually a ghost town during early day hours, and it was next to the building where I'd be having my next class, so it wasn't like it was far away. Inside the lobby of the Activity Center, some guy was sitting on a desk looking down at his phone. He looked up at me as I passed and said good morning. I set it back and proceeded around the curved hallway to the restrooms. While I was in one of the stalls, the door to the restroom opened and a man asked if anyone's in here. Being that it was the women's restroom, I was a little weirded out by that. I didn't answer. The door to the restroom closed, but I heard footsteps come up to my stall and stop. There was a light tap on the stall door with one of his fingers, I presume. Then, in that ever so tiny crack in the door, I saw the man pressing his face up through it. I saw his eye looking in for a second. I gasped and said, "Someone's in here." He replied back asking why I didn't answer him, then told me this building and all nearby buildings were going into lockdown because of an apparent student who was sighted with a weapon. I didn't understand why he was in the women's bathroom with me, though. I left the stall to be face-to-face with him, and it was that guy that was sitting on the desk before. I was guessing he was the front desk worker or whatever for this building. He had to be trustworthy. He showed me a text on his phone from a random number, and it was a warning from the university to stay inside whatever building and classrooms you're in and to lock all the doors due to a potentially armed individual on campus. I found that alarming, so I felt comfortable with him going to blockade the bathroom door with a garbage bin. After he did that, though, the two of us just stood in the bathroom together awkwardly, like I was trying to ask him for more details about the potentially armed person on campus. He said he had no other information on it, though. Something about the way he was looking at me relentlessly, like no social cues or when to stop staring at me. I felt uneasy. I pulled out my phone to create a buffer. As I was on my phone, I thought to just look for a similar text from the school that he showed me, but I didn't get any text from the university. I went to the school's website, which would often have news and alerts. It didn't have anything about it, though. I asked this man's name, and he said his name was Eli, that he worked in the building. Now that I thought about it, though, his outfit consisted of light blue bootcut jeans with brown boots and a gray hoodie. He looked, if anything, like a maintenance worker. Instead of trying to continue the conversation with him, I was on my phone texting friends, any friends who I knew were on campus at the moment, asking if they heard anything about this armed person. I had 2 friends text back saying no, class was in session like normal. I looked up at the man, who was now even closer to me. Time stopped moving in that instant. He looked at the door, and whispered to me that he thought he heard something, that we should make a move to one of the stalls and hide. I froze, both physically and mentally. He started to walk up to me, with his arms slightly extended out to nudge me into one of the stalls with him. At this point, the only thing I could do was scream, as loud as I could. It caught him off guard, and I think he went into full-on panic mode, because he looked around the room and then hurried to move the trash bin away from the door and storm out of the bathroom. I proceeded to leave the bathroom a few seconds after him, running to the nearest exit. From there, I called my mom to pry to her about it. She actually called campus police for me and then drove to the school to meet me, and that's when I told campus police about the man, with my mom there to support me. A day later, I received a call from campus police, and they said they reviewed the footage caught in the building and could confirm that man did not work at the school, and that they would do their best to find out who he was. And I never received any future updates. It was ninth period at the end of the school day, senior year of high school. Ninth period was one of my off periods, so my school days would be a little shorter. A couple of my friends also had their schedule set up that way, Ryan and Scott. Our third friend Tyler had off ninth period every other day. This was one of the days he didn't have off, but since it was Friday and a nice day out, we were all texting each other making plans to hit the beach. Tyler was talking about sneaking out of gym early to come with us, so we were waiting in the hallway by the gym. This hall was in the far corner of the school. The only people passing were students going to gym class. Tyler texted us that he was just going to wait till the gym teacher took attendance, then sneak back to the locker room and meet us in the hall. We waited there for a decent minute. He was taking a while for some reason. There's a set of exit doors at the end of the gym hall we were standing in. It wasn't supposed to be used as an entrance, yet here came some guy through the doors. Even though it was a really nice day out, this guy came through the 2 doors in the hall wearing black sweatpants and a black zipper-up hoodie with a hood over his head. He was also wearing a black backpack. We went silent as he walked past us, making a point of looking at all 3 of us with this dagger of a stare. Ryan stepped up and said, "What, dude? Fuck off." And the guy stopped in his tracks and turned to face Ryan and asked him if he's got a problem. Scott and I stepped in and just said forget it over and over until the guy turned and kept walking. We all agreed that guy seemed extremely sketchy. He looked like he could have been a student, but none of us recognized him. He had a little facial hair, but it was kind of patchy though. A few minutes later, we texted him asking him to hurry up, and he texted back he couldn't sneak out just yet since we're in lockdown. This was a shock to us because we weren't aware of this. He said the gym teachers announced it, and everyone was hiding in the locker rooms. We also just realized the door separating the gym hallway from the actual locker room hallway were closed and locked. We immediately linked it to that creepy-looking dude dressed in all black who just walked past us. The reality hit us so much harder when there were these popping sounds from down one of the hallways. At first they sounded like maybe a teacher slamming books on the desk as if to wake a student up or something, but we quickly put 2 and 2 together and realized they were gunshots. The sounds of students screaming quickly followed. Next thing we knew, we saw that guy in the black appear down the hall, and he was running full speed towards us. The 3 of us ran out the 2 doors that the guy entered from, and all the way to the woods next to the school. In that moment, I felt the curtains of light slowly closing, and the thought of death becoming a reality. I looked back twice as we ran, and saw that guy was chasing us, but he was kind of far away. He screamed stuff at us, most of it inaudible, but I did make out him saying, "I'm gonna kill you thing." We made it to the woods behind the fence that surrounds the perimeter of the school, and when we had a nice shield of trees covering us from view, we stopped to catch our breath. We decided to wait it out, laying flat on the ground to avoid detection. We then heard footsteps nearby. It got louder and louder until I could see him running through the woods looking for us. He ran further away from us, not noticing us. And when he was out of sight, we all agreed to run for it back to the senior parking lot. Between the running and the shock of the near-death experience we just had, I don't know how I didn't vomit. We got to my car, and I drove all three of us to my house. Obviously, the beach idea was out the window now. It later blew up on social media and our high school class group chat that one of the new teachers was shot by the guy and was sent to the hospital in an ambulance. He survived, but everyone thought he was going to die considering he got shot twice. No one knows who that guy was or why he targeted that one specific teacher. I'm sure he went after us because Ryan antagonized him. He probably waited to come back for us, or Ryan specifically, because he didn't want to alert the whole school with a gunshot. Who knows, though? But that wouldn't have really mattered anyway, because the school was already tipped off by a nearby house about him, because he was seen pissing on their property before going to the school, not to mention the way he was dressed on an 80-degree day. I consider this a near-death experience, and I count my lucky stars I survived. The topic of today's video has to do with computer hackers, specifically stories recounted by victims of computer hackers. And this video happens to be sponsored by Atlas VPN, an app that encrypts your data and hides your virtual location online, which makes it harder for people like the hackers you'll hear about in this video to figure out where you are, what you're doing on the internet, and collecting personal data of yours. At the moment, Atlas VPN is the cheapest VPN provider that's able to protect you as well as unlock worldwide libraries of services that could usually be blocked by regional barriers, such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, and more. And it's able to do this by allowing you to change your location to another country. So for example, if the region in which you live doesn't have a specific title that's available to a different region, you can use Atlas VPN to change your location to make that title available to you. Unlike other VPNs, which may be clunky and confusing to navigate, the user interface for Atlas VPN is very simple and user-friendly. Atlas VPN strives to provide easy and accessible privacy, and does not log user activity while they're connected to their servers. Check the link in the description for more info. Back when I was 17, my friend told me about this deep web drug website called Dream Market. It was where he bought things like weed and Adderall. He had what he referred to as a trusted dealer, whose information he sent me to buy from. I don't condone doing anything like this. I was simply just young and stupid. I thought buying Adderall would help me with my senior projects. Anyway, I went about doing that. However, this purchase made me intrigued to continue browsing Dream Market and seeing what else one could buy. And I saw this range from counterfeit bills to real guns. This got me more intrigued to be more of the deep web. I found some link somewhere on Dream Market that led to, I guess, what was a drug chat room, because it was just a lot of people seemingly advertising the drugs they were selling and their rates. I found it interesting. Some people would post random .onion links, and I clicked on one. It brought me to a black page with the title Home Base at top in large text. Underneath were a bunch of other random links. I clicked on a bunch of them. Most never loaded, probably being dead links. A couple loaded. One was another chat room. This one didn't have a title. There were like 3 usernames signed into the room, all random looking, just like the assortment of random letters I inputted just because I didn't care. The chat's previous history showed. A few people were talking in another language, then another guy was typing in English. That guy was still in the chat room, and actually, before I typed anything, he typed yo directed at me. I typed yo back. He said, "What you looking for?" I typed back, "I don't know, LOL." He asked how I found that link, and I told him just from some site called Home Base. I asked if he had any cool links, as it was my first time on the deep web. He typed back, LOL, then sent a link. He didn't say anything else. I clicked the link, and it took a little while to load the page. It loaded the black background first, then a little text box near the bottom, and the last thing that loaded was a video. At first I thought it was like a pausable video, but it looked to be some kind of live streaming video. The video was black and white, and it was of a dark room with some mannequin-looking thing sitting in a wooden chair. There was this grainy effect to the footage that made it feel more surreal and unnerving. I genuinely couldn't tell if I was watching a live video or not. Then, as if it were some kind of movie jump scare, What I thought was a mannequin in that chair suddenly jumped up and sprinted towards the camera, and a loud, staticky screaming sound accompanied it. The apparent porcelain mask that the person was wearing was so close up on the camera at that point that all I could see was black. I went back to the chat and asked the guy what the hell this was. He replied, "Just keep watching, LOL," and then he left the chat. I went back to the other tab, and the video or live stream window was gone. It was now just a blank screen with a text box on the bottom. The text box didn't let me type anything though. My Tor browser window suddenly closed without my doing. Then a deep, raspy voice was coming from my speakers. It was someone obviously trying to disguise their voice. The voice said my first name, and claimed they had all my files. Then the webcam window popped up, and I saw my face on screen. I turned off my laptop and went to the Geek Squad at Best Buy, where I bought the computer. The guy I spoke to's guess was that he was able to somehow get the basic info off my computer, like my account name. He recommended I factory reset the computer. He helped me with the process. I didn't have anything I was worried about losing on there anyway. It was a relatively new computer. If you're ever on the deep web, I heavily recommend using some kind of VPN, even for the alleged safe websites. I'm 24 years old, and I'm from a small town called Yarmouth in Nova Scotia, Canada. I keep my social circle very small, just my few friends and my co-workers, really. I mention that as a point in saying I don't really know anyone who would be out to get me in any way. I browse Reddit a lot in my free time. I'm an active poster. There was this one night when I pulled up Reddit on my browser out of boredom, that I had a new message. Not unusual, as I have people messaging me in reference to my posts quite often. It was a message request from some random account, a now deleted username. The message said, "Check your email, your spam folder specifically." I replied back, "Huh? Why, who's this?" In the meantime, I opened up my Gmail and went to the spam folder. There was one email that stuck out from the rest, titled in all caps, "I know who you are." I opened the email, and it was basically a paragraph full of my personal information, including my full name, my Reddit password, my home address, along with threats. Basically, whoever sent the email was asking for a one-time payment of $5,000 through Bitcoin to a specific Bitcoin wallet address. My heart was basically in my throat. I had that terrible feeling of helplessness, and like the entire world was collapsing in on me. The first thing I did was cover my webcam with a piece of tape. Secondly, I went back to Reddit to see if the user ever answered my message. They did not. I went to report the account on Reddit as quick as I could, as if that would even do anything though. I replied to the email, copy-pasting the exact message I sent to the Reddit account, asking who this was, how they got that information, and if this was a prank. I got an email back around 5 minutes later, in all capitals, saying, "No, it's not a prank. We have all your information, including where you live. So your best course of action is to do as we say, and you'll never hear from us again." Obviously, I was not going to shell out $5,000. I don't even make a lot of money to begin with. I contacted all of my friends, asking if it was any of them, like begging them to just come forward now before I call the police. None of them admitted to it, so given that I threatened calling the police, I knew it wasn't any of them. I tried to think of anyone at work who might have issues with me, but really I get along with everyone at work. I chalked it up to my password somehow being stolen by malware or a hacker, and through that they somehow got the rest of my information. The main question was, do I pay the money? And that was absolutely not happening. I forced myself to go to sleep and left my laptop off the whole next day. I used my desktop instead after getting home from work. I didn't sign into Reddit or anything though. I did however change my password on all other websites and apps on my phone. I finally signed into my laptop late that night because I was just so bored and curious. Curious but nervous to see if anything had changed and if I'd gotten any new emails. I signed on and everything on my computer still looked normal. So I went to Reddit and saw the user who messaged me was now deleted. So I went to a subreddit which talked about computer hackers and scams and such, and I posted my experience. At some point, I noticed the taskbar at the bottom of the screen turned darker. Curious, I minimized all my windows, and my desktop wallpaper was different. I knew right away what it was though. I recognized the outside of my bedroom window. The white frame of the outside windowsill was in the picture, and the flash of the camera also caught me laying in my bed, sleeping. Some seconds later, a pop-up window appeared, along with the Windows error sound. Inside the pop-up error window was a message saying the word pay, with a winking face following it. I closed my laptop screen and forced the computer off by holding the power button. I also pulled my blinds down and called my parents. It was still early enough to do so. I told my dad over the phone that some hacker had my info, and he came right over with his truck to help me load any valuables I could think of into his truck to stay with them for a while. Before we drove off from my apartment, my dad yelled like a madman into the night sky, basically threatening whoever was hacking me. It was definitely a scene, but I was too preoccupied with worry to be embarrassed by it. I stayed with my parents for weeks and used my mom's computer when needed. I blocked that email address that sent me the original email. I finally got back to my apartment a few days ago. I'm still scared every night to hear a knock at my window or get another threatening email. I haven't brought it to the police yet, as I'm hoping it's all just a bluff still to get me to pay. I'm also hoping it's over and that they've given up. My name is Miranda, I'm 25. I've had my share of experiences with stalkers and men harassing me. Social media has made that far too easy these days. I once got a suspicious email that I should have known better than to open. It was asking me to click a link to some random page because I was being sued by some random company. I clicked the link, and soon after that my computer started acting all glitchy and unresponsive. Even after restarting it multiple times, it was just laggy and slow, and random sound effects would play once in a while. I was certain my computer had a virus, but I wasn't sure to what extent it would go just yet. The next day, I had a bunch of friends texting me what's up with that Instagram post and asking if I was the one who even posted it. I panicked and opened Instagram, but I was logged out of my account. Someone was hacking me, this confirmed it. If they had my Instagram password, I had no idea what else they could have. Apparently the picture posted on my Instagram was some stupid cartoon meme. It was extremely embarrassing. Minutes of freaking out later, my Snapchat started blowing up. It was from some random account that just added me. They were spamming me to Snapchat call them, so I did. When they picked up, I saw like a quarter of someone's face. It looked like a young guy in his 20s. I could tell he was smiling, that was the creepy thing. The way he said hello was so long and stretched out. I was pretty frantic, asking what he wanted in return for my Instagram back. He started telling me some really creepy shit. He said he sees me every day and that he thinks I'm really pretty, and that this was the only way he'd get my attention. I didn't know what to say. He said he'd give me my account back if I would just be his digital girlfriend. As creepy and weird as this was, I said yes in a heartbeat just to get my stuff back. He told me the password to get back onto my Instagram account, and as soon as I changed the password, I set my profile to private and put a story up saying that it wasn't me, I was hacked. I asked this guy for his name and what other info he had on me. He said I could just call him John, and that he could get all the information about me that he wanted. He said this with a smile, too. I could see it in the fourth of his face that he would actually show. He refused to show the rest. I played nice the whole time, knowing this guy's a sicko. I managed to get him off the call by telling him I'd snap him tomorrow. I then told all my friends about it and asked what I should do. They all unanimously said I should activate two-factor verification on my Instagram account, and then deactivate the account, and then block him. When I did all that, though, he didn't take it too well. An hour later, I got a new Snap user blowing up my Snap. I knew it was him, but I opened the snaps anyway. It was him again threatening me, saying he knows where I live, and blocking him was a stupid thing to do. I showed it to my parents now because it was getting serious, so my dad called the police. I didn't block the guy's Snapchat yet, though, and I'm glad I didn't. As my parents and I were sitting in the kitchen waiting, I got a snap from the guy. It was a video. I waited a few seconds before opening it. It was a video of him sitting in his car in front of our house, with the caption, "Don't block me again." My dad ran outside in a fit of rage. We tried to stop him, but he wouldn't. But the car wasn't even in front of the house anymore. The guy probably waited until driving away before sending that snap. I'm just going to say the police did absolutely nothing. They seem clueless on the matter. But there's not much police could do in hacker situations anyway, apparently. However, I did send a snap of the police car back to the guy, and put a caption, "Fuck with me again, you'll be arrested." He opened the snap and immediately blocked me, so I'd say it works. This story has a happier ending than most, I guess. But the amount of info some people can get from you online is absolutely terrifying. I take my dog Henry for a walk twice a day and let him in the yard once. When I take him for a walk around the neighborhood, I always try to take different routes just to keep it from getting repetitive, not just for me, but for Henry as well. Oftentimes on the weekends, I take him for longer walks since I have more free time, and I don't have the stress of other work-related things still lingering in my mind. On a cloudy, humid Saturday evening, it was one of those times that I decided to take him on a long walk. I'm talking like almost an hour. We were in a part of the neighborhood I wasn't too familiar with. I found a walking trail that was part of the town's huge nature preserve. It was a rather low-key path. There didn't seem to be any other people on it but me. It was a rather narrow path with woods on either side. It wasn't a cement bike path like the other trails of the preserve. Henry led the way, pulling the leash harder than usual, probably excited by all the new random smells he was picking up. Eventually on the trail, we passed this little square park. It had a swing set and a little playground, along with a basketball court, or rather what was once a basketball court, as there were no hoops. I decided to walk in through the little opening, as Henry was going crazy over something. I was planning on just sitting on one of the benches facing the playground to take a break because I was getting a little tired, but when I sat down, Henry kept pulling and started barking at something. He'd only really do that when he saw another dog or animal, sometimes people, but less often. So I entertained it and got up and started giving him slack to run towards whatever he thought he saw. I looked into the woods but couldn't see anything. The closer we got, the more aggressive Henry got, until he was basically choking himself with the collar trying to pull me into the woods. Then out popped a man from behind a big tree. He was laughing, saying, "Whoa, whoa, he caught me." I told Henry to calm down and pulled him away from the woods. And the man. I apologized for my dog and walked away. The way in which he came out from that tree was bizarre. He said, "It's all good, dude," as he seemed to follow in the direction we were walking. Henry kept looking back and barking. I continued to tug him forward. Eventually, I had to turn around and ask if there was something I could help him with, as he even seemed to follow me outside of the park and onto the trail. He put his arms up in the air and smiled. Then he said he just wants to pet my dog. I said, "Nah, he doesn't like you, man. We're just going to walk our own way." He didn't reply, so I turned and continued walking, faster now. Henry kept turning around and growling, and every time I'd look back, he'd be the same distance away from me, kind of off the trail a bit, half hiding behind the trees like he thought he was being slick. I was about to call back at him to piss off, but then it hit me this guy might be dangerous. I started running down the trail until I came to the little opening we entered from, and exited through that. Back on the streets, Henry would keep looking back as we ran, but I'd have to tug him to keep running. We ran all the way back to my house without stopping. I actually do cardio regularly, so I wasn't concerned about that guy keeping up. I highly doubted it, especially since Henry stopped looking back eventually. It was now a couple hours after getting back. Henry was in his bed, which was right next to mine, when he unexpectedly lifted his head to look at the window, and growled. At first I thought it was because of the sound of the rain droplets that had just begun to hit the outside of the window. I was thinking about getting up out of bed to close the window, even though I was already comfortable in bed. Then it happened. A voice speaking into the window. A voice I recognized from a few hours ago, asking if I knew why he was in the woods. Henry started going crazy. I jumped in my skin and turned to the window. I couldn't see his features or face, but I could see the outline of his body at my window. I yelled, "What do you want?" He calmly asked if I saw what he was doing in the woods. I told him no. And he asked me, "Are you sure?" I said yes with a tremble in my voice. He said okay, and I saw the outline of his body move away from the window. Henry stopped growling after a few moments. I closed the window and latched it. I wouldn't have been able to sleep that night without calling the police. I told them I was followed by someone in the park, and that he came to my window. The dispatcher asked if the man left, and I told her to my knowledge yes. She said if he were to come back, to call 911 again. She implied it was a busy night since it was a Saturday. I did feel comfort knowing Henry would give me a warning at least if he were to come back. He didn't end up coming back though, thank God. The man's words, "Did you see what I was doing in the park?" still don't really make sense to me. I wonder if he were implying he was doing something he didn't want others to see, and that he was worried I witnessed it. But that alone would raise even more questions. It was a regular night in the summer of 2010. I was taking my dog Poppy out for his nighttime walk. I usually take the same route. Sometimes I'll stray down one different block, not always though. This one night, I branched off a familiar block to a not-so-familiar one. All that I knew of this block was that there was an abandoned house on the corner. It's known as the Murder House. I've only ever passed it while driving. The first time I saw it, I slowed down just because it's such an eyesore, sticking out like a sore thumb from the rest of the houses. I never could understand why the town wouldn't just tear it down and build a new home, especially given the house's history. The reason no one ever bought it was because of the murder of a young woman inside, potentially by her boyfriend. He was never to be heard of again. No body, no signs of leaving, nothing. Walking down the block, I saw the house slowly getting closer. I already planned on stopping in front of it to take a look, but Poppy actually stopped before I even did, and just looked at the house. I could tell by his ears and his head tilting that he was engaged by something. I looked around the neighboring houses, which were spaced out generously, and our neighborhood has a lot of green, meaning tons of bushes and trees lining the streets. Plus, it was as dark as could get out, and the house was conveniently situated in a gap between the streetlights. It didn't seem like any of the neighbors could possibly be watching me from where I was, so I started walking onto the grass of the property, but Poppy stayed in place. He started to growl and make whimpering-type sounds, like he was frustrated. I pulled him hard enough, and he started to follow onto the property. He was fixated on the window that was open. I stepped onto the house-length front wooden deck and walked to the window. Poppy was still making growling and whimpering sounds. I pressed my face up to the screen of the window, surprised the window was even left open. I started to wonder if maybe someone was still managing this house in some way, whatever that would even mean. Inside the house was dark, but not pitch black. I could see the walls to the empty living room, and then the opening in the wall that led to a back room with another window. As I was observing, I heard the sound of something inside the house, like a blunt object hitting the floor. It came from further back in the house, like in that back room. Having my dog with me gave me some kind of weird confidence boost to go through the side of the backyard. The backyard was literally huge. The grass was very tall, indicating I was likely wrong about any kind of property management. Only thing in the big yard was an old wooden decrepit-looking shed in the corner. The door to it was slightly open. I was more curious about looking in through that window. As I looked inside, I couldn't see anything except an empty black room, probably what was once a mud room. Poppy was looking at the shed, not barking or growling though. He was kind of silent. I walked quietly towards the shed, tugging him slowly and softly to keep him quiet too. The door was open enough for me to look inside the giant shed. It was not empty. There weren't tools or bicycles or anything. There was just this skinny girl standing in the middle of the otherwise empty shed. I say girl, but I couldn't tell if it was just a girl or a woman. Poppy suddenly went ballistic, barking and making these noises I could only describe as a dog's version of screaming. He wasn't pulling to go inside of the shed, he was pulling to get away. The girl's head inside the shed turned to the door and I ran. We ran. Poppy and I ran for 3 straight blocks until I was out of breath. Then we walked the rest of the way back to my house. I went to a house nicknamed Murder House, where a young woman was killed potentially by her boyfriend. And then I witnessed a young woman standing in the middle of that empty shed. I don't know if I believe it was an apparition, or just some girl by chance trying to explore that abandoned house just like me. I was 10 when my parents let my brothers and I get our first dog. I'm the middle sibling, and it was always my older brother and I's job to walk the dog. Our dog's name was Nyla. Nyla was a golden retriever. My brother would walk her in the afternoon after school, and I would walk her at night. I don't remember anything about what kind of night it was. Cold, warm, weeknight, weekends, nothing. All the details I remember are what I'm including in my recounting of this experience. I was like halfway through my walk with Nyla when she looked across the street and her tail started wagging. She started barking and tugging to go say hi to this dog that was being walked by a man across the street. The man made the decision for the both of us to cross the street and allow our dogs to say hi. His dog was a very tiny, fluffy dog. I think it might have been a Maltese. His dog seemed very timid and like he didn't want to be bothered by Nyla. The man asked my name and I gave it to him, and he told me his name. I don't remember it, honestly. But we got into this long conversation about our dogs. He really seemed to like Nyla, and Nyla kind of liked him. He was telling me how his golden retriever had recently passed away, and he had a bunch of toys and dog supplies that he'd love to give me. I figured, why not? It's my lucky day. He said his house was around the block, so he led the way. I was walking kind of next to him, though, as we walked. We were in the street the rest of the way back, but the residential roads are usually quiet. After kind of awkwardly walking back to his house, he let me in first. His house was okay, modest, nothing special. He led Nyla and I into the kitchen as he let his dog go run off into a different room. He asked me to have a seat on one of the stools by the island in the kitchen and asked if I wanted anything to eat. He offered me a bag of chips, and I accepted it. He handed me a bag of some off-brand potato chips. Then he just sat on the stool next to mine and started petting Nyla. He was awfully close to me, and then he looked down at the bag of chips, I think, as if he were waiting for me to open it. I put it on the island in front of me. He just sat there petting Nyla and not saying much. I was wondering when he was going to get the dog supplies he promised. He didn't show any signs of doing that, though. Instead, he was asking me personal questions, making awkward small talk with me. At one point, I remember he even patted my knee as if he were my father or something. I remember an overwhelming feeling of discomfort suddenly, so I finally asked about the collar, toys, and other supplies he mentioned. He said he'd be right back and go get it. He said it's, not them. I remember picking up on that. He left through one of the two doorways in the kitchen, then I heard him stomping downstairs to the basement. Moments later, I heard him call out to me to come downstairs and check out some of the stuff he wanted to give me. I got up just to walk over to the basement door, still deciding if I'd want to go down. But then Nyla started growling at something behind the open basement door. I looked, and there was someone crouched down in the dark hallway. I didn't really know what to think, but I just left the house in a hurry. I got home and didn't say anything to my family. I just went to my room the rest of the night, quiet and shaken up. It was the first and only time I ever felt I was about to be targeted for being a young age. My only explanation was there were two men in that house, and the second I'd walk into that basement, the other would have shut the door on me. I didn't tell any of my family about it simply because it made me uncomfortable and honestly slightly embarrassed. Telling the internet anonymously is completely different. When I was 17 and looking to buy my first car, I was on Craigslist every single day. I wasn't looking for anything fancy, just a beater car that could get me from point A to point B. My budget was $3,000 at most, so the cars I was looking at were no newer than 03, 04. I found an ad one day for a 2002 two-door Honda Accord. It was listed for $2,000, and the mileage was under 80,000, so right away I knew I wanted to check it out. The person who posted the ad lived a few towns over from us, a 20-minute drive on the highway. I convinced my mom to drive me out there to view the car after conversing with the guy over the phone. Originally, I texted him asking for details, but he ended up calling me. He sounded basically normal over the phone, actually rather polite. He answered some questions I had about the car and whatnot, and when he asked for my name and I told him Dan, he said, "Dan, what a great name. That's my name too." I laughed because it was the polite thing to do, but I just found it to be such an odd comment. Like everything about it, it almost sounded like he forgot his name was Dan because of the pause between "what a great name" and "that's my name." It just sounded sketchy. Nevertheless, everything else about the call went fine, so the next day, my mom drove me to the address the guy gave me. Getting off the highway and onto the streets, right away we agreed this was a trashy-looking neighborhood. Bars on windows, graffiti under bridges. I was hoping the guy's place wouldn't seem equally sketchy, but as we pulled up, it was. It wasn't a standard property like the rest in the area. The entrance to the property was between two houses. It wasn't a driveway, just some low-key road that led into an inlet with two more houses. Every house was crammed between other houses and buildings. But there I saw it, the Honda Accord, which was, I guess, what you'd call the driveway for this house. My mom and I stepped up to the front door and rang the bell. We didn't know if it rang or not because we couldn't hear anything, so I knocked. One of the windows opened out of nowhere, and a man's voice said, "Come inside, the door's unlocked." I went to open the door, and my mom stopped me and whispered, "Are you sure you want to go in there?" I said, "Yeah." I and let ourselves in, expecting to be greeted by Dan. The inside of this place was kind of dark. Not a lot of natural light came in through the minimal windows. "Hello?" I said. "Yeah, over here," a voice called. It was a deeper voice than I heard on the phone. "Dan?" I asked. "Yeah," he said. And he began walking through the little kitchen, closer to his voice. My mom grabbed my shoulder and stopped me. She whispered in my ear, "We're leaving." The man's voice now came from beyond his door at the end of the kitchen. He called up, "Down here, we can do the transaction here." My mom and I left the house in a hurry. As we were hurrying to my car, a lady at the next building over called to us. She came hurrying down from her front porch, warning us not to go in there. Then she asked why we were there, and we explained that I came to buy a car, and that he was calling us into his basement. The woman said that she's been concerned about that man living next door for months, that she thinks he's up to no good, and that he constantly has random cars pull up in the driveway in the middle of the night. We asked if his name was Dan. She said she wasn't sure, but that she vaguely remembered the guy introducing himself as Mike. She told us to just get far away from the house immediately, and so we did. It's disturbing to know my mom and I may have been murdered in that basement if we went down there. Like, how could we do a transaction before even viewing the car or agreeing on anything? Better question why in the basement. The whole thing screams trap. I don't know what else he could have wanted to do to us, more specifically me, in that basement. This actually happened to my best friend, Chris. His family had just bought a new TV, and they were thinking of just throwing their old one away. Chris's older brother, John, suggested to their dad, Rick, that they could sell the old TV on Craigslist to make some easy cash. Since the family never used Craigslist, John said he could set up the ad for him, since John's girlfriend used Craigslist before. So John put up an image of the TV with the description, "Used 55-inch Samsung 4K TV for $200. He also put Rick's phone number, so if anyone was interested, they could just call or text him. A week later, Rick got a call from a guy who introduced himself as Toby, and he said he was interested in the TV and wanted to know if he could come by the house at 10 o'clock that same night to pick it up. Rick said sure, and he sent Toby his address. Later that night, while Rick, Chris, and John waited outside the house for Toby to come so they could help him load the TV into his car, Rick got a call from Toby, and he said he wouldn't be able to make it to the house because he was almost out of gas, so he and Rick agreed to meet in the parking lot of Circle K. After Rick got off the phone, him, Chris, and John loaded the TV in the back of Rick's pickup truck, and they took off to the Circle K where Toby said he was at, which was 15 miles away from the house. When they got there, they pulled up in a parking space next to the gas pumps, where Toby was filling up his car, a black Nissan Altima. A few minutes later, a tall, heavy-set bald guy with a goatee walked over to Rick's truck and said he was Toby. He told Rick that since the TV was big, it would most likely not be able to fit in his car, so he suggested that they could just follow him back to his house, and Rick agreed with them. After a few minutes of driving on the main highway, they got onto a back road, which looked sketchy because there was nothing but trees on either side of the road, and it was filled with potholes. Toby texted Rick and said his house was at the end of the road. When they got to the end, the place that was supposedly Toby's house didn't even look like a house at all. It looked more like a tall, abandoned building. When they got out of the truck, Toby told them to untie the TV from the back so they could start unloading it. After they untied the TV, they turned around and saw 3 large men emerge from the back of the car, and they all pulled out guns, including Toby. They threatened to kill them, but they didn't give them all they had on them. Rick, Chris, and John didn't hesitate, so they all gave the guys their wallets and phones, and they obviously took the TV too. After taking everything they had, the guys got back in the car and drove away. When Rick, Chris, and John got home, Chris and John told their mom everything that went down, and Rick called the cops and told them the whole story, and even gave them the license plate number for the car since he memorized it. To this day, Chris's family never heard of any arrest being made. That was the one and only time the family ever used Craigslist. Back in 2012, when Craigslist was more popular, I'd say, my house was broken into and robbed. A bunch of things were stolen, like 2 TVs, my Xbox 360, all of my video games, my hockey skates, and whatever stray cash I had laying around. I had the police come investigate the house, but nothing that would help track the perpetrator, including fingerprints, was found. I gave them a list of everything that was stolen, but the cops in my county usually suck, and they didn't help at all. Now I had to replace everything that was stolen. Believe it or not, the most costly thing to replace would be the video game collection, but I was starting with the replacement of TVs. I went to Craigslist, and there was an ad that was posted earlier that day for a 40-inch Panasonic TV for a low price. Panasonic was the brand I had, so I contacted the seller and drove to his house that night. He led me into his disgusting home. It reeked, and the stains in the carpets and general messiness of the place didn't help. He brought me to this back room where the TV was. I examined it, and it was the exact TV that I had in my living room that was stolen. Then I started to look around the room, and I noticed another smaller TV that was tucked in the corner of the room, as well as an Xbox. The smaller TV looked exactly like my other TV that was stolen. I went to pick up the Xbox and checked the bottom of it for the specific long scratch in the case that mine had. And there it was. That was my Xbox. That was all my shit. I looked at the guy, who had a confused look on his face, and I said, "Dude, you're the piece of shit that stole my stuff." His expression changed. He played dumb and had an angry tone now. He told me to get out of his house and lifted his shirt, exposing his gun holster. I live in Texas, so he likely had a license to carry. I left the house and called the cops. They arrived to the scene, but the man wouldn't let them in. He insisted they get a warrant and claimed that I was harassing him. I told the cops about my police report and the robbery and everything. They said they wouldn't be able to get a search warrant until the next day. I regretted not getting pictures while inside the room, but I wasn't thinking clearly in the moment. I was furious and I didn't know what to do. But that night, while I was getting ready for bed and doing research about search warrants, lawyers, and different possible outcomes to the situation, I heard a window break downstairs. Immediately, I knew it was him. Following my instincts, I climbed out of my window and down to the small ledge under my window. From there, I jumped to the ground and ran to my neighbor's house. My neighbor let me in while I called the police. They arrived within 10 minutes. I handed the police my spare house key I had hidden on the side of the house, and they investigated the house again. Guns drawn this time, and inside they found him, hidden under my bed. If that's not terrifying, I don't know what is. When I said earlier that cops usually suck, yeah, this was the one time I actually loved cops here. And yes, it was the man who posted the Craigslist ad. He actually broke into my house to kill me that night, as he had his gun on him, and why else would he be hiding under my bed? That doesn't sit well with me, even to this day. He was found guilty of breaking and entering with intent to commit murder beyond a reasonable doubt, and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Even still, I moved to a new town and changed my number. I tried to search any possible trail that could lead that man to me when he gets out. And I'm sure he's out by now for alleged good behavior. That's the part that scares me the most. All of this, over less than $1,000 worth of items. It actually makes me sick. I think Craigslist is one of the most dangerous places on the internet you could go. I once answered an ad posted on Craigslist for a free mini fridge under the free stuff section. I was setting up what people would call a man cave in my basement, and I needed a mini fridge for under the bar to store beers and other drinks inside. I checked the address on maps, and the house was apparently waterfront, sitting over a tall cliff overlooking a huge lake. The person who was texting me said his name was John, but that he wouldn't be in the house, just his elderly mother. He told me when I got there I'd have to let myself in and go to the far right bedroom from the foyer, as his mom is hard of hearing and she's very slow. I thought for a second, what if instead of me answering this ad, it were a bad person and they totally took advantage of the situation? It sounded almost too easy to rob this old woman's house. Well, I coordinated a time with John to go to his mother's house, around sunset, and I gotta say, as I pulled up to the long dirt path to the property, seeing that big house sitting at the top of the hill with the sun setting in the background over the cliff, it was beautiful. Before going into that house, I admired the view of the lake below for a couple minutes. Then I texted John that I was there. He repeated his instructions to just let myself in and go to the room to the far right, as his mom would be waiting in the bedroom. He reminded me she's very old and I'd have to do all the lifting myself. I said that's fine. I entered the house through the front door, which was left ajar. Right away I was hit with the smell of cotton. It reminded me of the smell of my grandma's house. I followed his directions and went to the door on the far right, which led me to a narrow hall. The house seemed rather large from first impressions. As I went down this hall, the smell of cotton suddenly shifted to this horrible smell. Literally, it smelled like death, like a rotting animal. I entered the doorway at the end of this hall, and the smell in that room was unbearable. That's because of the dead, rotting corpse on the bed. It was the rotting corpse of an older woman. Her looked as though she'd been dead for a week or two. I wanted to throw up. I suddenly heard a loud, maniacal laughing from upstairs, accompanied with stomping in place. It seemed someone was in a room directly on top of me, simply stomping their feet to scare me, and it worked. I ran out of the house to my car, looked at the house one more time, and saw a man at one of the upstairs windows. Then I realized there was another person standing at one of the downstairs windows, both of them wearing face masks, like the same kind of mask you'd wear now for the coronavirus. My phone started blowing up with texts all of a sudden, all of them in capital letters. The first text said, "Ha ha ha," followed by, "We see you, look at the windows," then a bunch of emojis. The last text I got from him said, "Come back inside, you forgot your fridge." I drove off the property, and while on my way home, I called the police and reported the dead body in the house. After they investigated the house and apparently confiscated the dead body, which had no signs of any stab wounds or bullet holes, police arrived to my house for questioning. I showed them the whole conversation and gave them the phone number, which I warned them was probably a fake number, and I was right. But an officer named Boris told me they'd still be able to trace the number even if it was through some kind of fake number app. So, a week later, I was curious about the status of the case. So I called the police station, but the woman who picked up the phone didn't know any information. That or she didn't care enough to look for me, because in general she was just kind of rude. I never read about or saw anything on the news about an arrest being made regarding this. So to this day, I don't know if the people in that house were caught, or if they were even responsible for that woman's death.